And we are live, 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 live. Hello, everyone. Let me just hit the live button on Instagram. So, hi, everyone. So, I am live on Instagram and also on YouTube right here. So, I'll be looking back and forth. But my name is Genevia. I am a beauty founder turned web designer at HB Lighthouse. And HB Lighthouse is a web design studio, and we help health and beauty brands launch or redesign their websites on Shopify. So, again, I'm on both Instagram Live and YouTube Live. So, I'll be looking back and forth. But I wanted to jump on here today to talk about branding. So, I put out a poll. I usually share polls on my Instagram stories. And I put a poll asking a question about branding. Do you think it's easy? Do you think it's hard? Are you not sure? I think was the questions I asked, and it was split. So some people think that branding is hard, and others think that branding is easy. But branding, honestly, in my opinion, is easy. And I'm here today to convince you that it's also easy. And so I do want to share a disclaimer that I am not by any means a branding expert. Just based on my experience as a copywriter, working with graphic designers and brand managers, I've noticed that there are three major things that entail branding. So if you get these three things, like, I assure you that you will be branding like a pro and be able to brand your business and really stand out from your competition. So I have a couple of notes here that I want to hit so that I don't forget anything. But this is going to require a mindset shift. So you really have to believe that branding is easy. And once you do just declare that over yourself and over your life, you will be able to do it. Because, like, when I was doing branding and building my cosmetics line, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, to be honest, I had a logo though, and I had some other elements of branding, but I didn't have this entire package. And so sometimes people can think that branding is super abstract, but it's not. There's only really three things that you really need to consider when you are branding your beauty brand, your wellness brand, whatever brand. So there are three things, like I mentioned: visuals, messaging, and experience. That's it. Those are the three things that I've noticed, just like based on experience working with other creatives about what branding is. So your visuals is going to entail your logo, color palette, your fonts, and your what's the other one? Professional images. So those are the four things that you want to consider when you are developing your visuals for your business. So again, your logo, your professional images, your fonts, and then your color palette. So when it comes to logo, you can honestly do it yourself. Canva is a whole entire design tool for people who don't have experience designing their anything. So literally there are so many templates in Canva, and you can select, they might even have something about logos. If you find something that has a similar style to what you're looking for, you could just, select that and then swap the text. And I do recommend text-based logos, especially if you're just starting out and you don't necessarily have the money to afford a graphic designer to develop your logo. I do recommend, hey, hi, Clarissa. I do recommend that you do it yourself. So Canva is super easy. It's user friendly for people who are just getting started. And I recommend a text-based logo to put together a logo. It's pretty simple and easy. Find some really nice fonts. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as I go through everything that you need for your visuals when it comes to branding. So again, I'm on both Instagram Live and YouTube Live right here. So I will be looking back and forth just to let you all know. But so logo, we covered logo, and that's super easy. You can do it in Canva. The second thing is professional images. So you want both model shots and you want still photography, which is also called product shots. So with photography, I recommend hiring someone to do it and not trying to do it yourself, because you really want to capture the essence of your brand and you want the quality of your photos to be sharp. So definitely get somebody to take model shots, whether it's a nail polish brand, so maybe like hand shots of models on their face, like holding their face or touching their face rather, putting their hands on things. You want it to be for professionally shot. When it comes to product shots, you also want to have a professional do them. So you want to find someone who specializes in still photography, which means just like things that don't move versus models and human beings that do. So still photographers literally only do objects. They shoot objects who are not humans or that are not humans. So they're going to shoot like your lipsticks, your nail polish, your skincare products, your whatever it is, tangible items. They will shoot those. So you want to hire someone that specializes in that. And there are folks, when I had my cosmetics line, I did reach out to a still photographer who specialized in beauty. So everything that she shoots is beauty focused, health, wellness focused. So there definitely exists. Just go on Instagram and you can look up, maybe type in keywords like still photography, product photographer, and things will pop up. So when it comes to your color palette, which is also part of visuals, I recommend selecting 5 to 8 colors, because those colors are going to be used in many different ways. You might not use all of the colors, particularly on your website. I suggest having 5 to 8 because the web designer is just going to need flexibility. They're going to need to be able to just like select whatever color makes sense for a particular section, because they're going to use them for background, accent colors, text color, buttons. All of those need different colors because accessibility is also important. And there are folks who are low vision users, and you need to have really great contrast when it comes to light and dark backgrounds. So I suggest having 5 to 8 colors. And if you're doing 8, I would suggest having 3 really dark colors because, again, of contrast against lighter backgrounds. And then your text obviously should be a darker color too. So that could be like a navy, a deep purple. It could be like maybe it's not black, maybe it's like an ash black. Whatever the case, you need dark colors to show up on your website. So the last thing under visuals is going to be typography. Lots of people, this one is a little bit tricky because people think that they need a bunch of fonts. And really, for your website, you only need 2. You only need 2 fonts. So one of them is going to be your header. So all the titles, all the headings will be one font. So that can be something really spicy, something really fun, something that really captures the essence of your brand. And then you need a body font. So that is more of the text, like the text that comes after or below the header and the titles. So you just need 2. You don't need a bunch, but you just need 2, especially for your website. And then you can always use that or those fonts on your social media channel, in your email campaigns, wherever you show up in the online world, you can still use those fonts, and you really just need 2. You don't really need a whole lot. And as far as like looking for fonts, it's a situation where you're just gonna have to Google it, like Google font pairings, which means that there are only two that are going to pop up, pairs, and go from there. When you are building your website, and oh, I forgot one thing about color palette, but we'll go back. So when you're building your website, I suggest that you use system fonts in Shopify. So, of course, your header, your title font can be super spicy, cute, fun, and that can be installed in your Shopify website. The web designer should know how to install it. If you don't know how to install it, you should really hire a website designer to do it for you. But if you are doing something really special, then you can go ahead and find, a header that's special. But when it comes to body text, I recommend using fonts that are built into Shopify because it's going to help with site speed. If you have to install two separate fonts or three or however many that you decide that you want to do, I do recommend two. But if you want to install multiple fonts on your website, it's going to affect the speed of your website. So just keep in mind that when you are selecting fonts, try to Google and search what fonts are already built into Shopify and use one of those for your body text. It will save you the lag time for your website greatly. So color palette, I want to go back to there. So color palette, when you're looking for colors, because I know sometimes people they get really like frantic or unsure, doubtful about the colors that they want to represent their brand. I suggest keeping things super easy and going on Pinterest. Go on Pinterest and type in color palette, and there are going to be so many. Hey, welcome, welcome. Hi, Mari Butters. Someone says, choosing a color palette was hard for me. Yes. So that's the thing. Like, you really want to separate yourself from the entire process of brand identity because it's not your identity. It's not the founder's identity. This is the identity of your brand. So when it comes to colors, don't select anything that you think, don't select colors that you love. Like, really select colors that you think are going to represent the brand. And sometimes the brand will also be an extension of yourself. And so you might have certain colors that you gravitate towards, and that's fine. But I think the key is to really just separate yourself from your business in general, because your business is not your identity. So go on Pinterest, Google, or not Google, but type in keywords color palette, and there's going to be a whole bunch of colors that maybe branding experts have put together to help you decide what colors that you should use. And they have the hex codes there as well. And then you can go into Canva, and you can literally just type in the hex codes and it'll pop up. And like, you can then design your logo if that's what you're doing. You can design different assets for social media, for your email campaigns, and you can do all of that in Canva using Pinterest color palette as the keyword, and things will pop up and you go from there. So I just wanted to quickly go back and talk about that. So another thing that I mentioned was that branding also entails messaging. And this is another area where people tend to get really frustrated about because they think they're not good writers, or they don't know what to write. They don't necessarily understand copywriting, or brand messaging is another way people talk about copywriting, but it's copywriting. That is what it's called. And copywriting is really just promo text to engage, educate an audience. It's just literally words that you see on any piece of paper or any website that has copy on it or has words on it. That's copywriting. That's all it is. And people tend to feel like they can't do that, or they don't know what to say about their brand. But what's really important is that when you are developing your messaging, or maybe you hire a copywriter to do so, but when you're developing your messaging, there are three things that you want to keep in mind. And that is the voice, the tone, and the value of what you're selling. So your voice is really your personality, not yours specifically, but the personality of your brand. So the voice is the personality, the tone is your mood, and value is value. Value is basically the benefit of what you're selling. How is it going to change somebody's life? Why do they need it? Amongst all the other products or services that are out there, why do they need your particular product? That's what value is. So when it comes to personality, there are lots of different, like if you consider or think about, let's say bougie, that's a personality. So there are men and women who are bougie. That's their personality. That's their personality. They're very posh, right? And then the tone, which I said is the mood, could be it could be one of two things. So if they're bougie, they could be the tone is like bad. They bad, they stuck up, or maybe it's the flip side of that, and they're super sweet, they're super delicate, loving, but they're still bougie. You know, you have sweet men and women who are just super cool, down to earth, but they bougie. Like they carry themselves a certain way. They don't take no for an answer. They know who they are. Like they walk with their heads up. People typically say people who are very, I guess, confident can sometimes be bougie, whatever. So yeah, so absolutely. Somebody asked, so do we give our brands a personality? Is that what you mean? Yes, absolutely. Give your brand a personality. Who is your brand? Like what's the personality of your brand? It could be bougie, it could be maybe they're like loving, warm-hearted, or maybe they are down to earth, maybe they are whatever the personality is. And their mood is really just how they talk. So if the brand is a bougie brand, like a luxury bougie brand, for instance, their mood could be, again, very, it could be very like bad, like, oh, like I know that this luxury brand is for all the women who are hardworking, we're independent, we don't take no for an answer, we get what's ours, we're bad. Or it could be bossy is another mood. How you talk to your audience and how you communicate the value of your products is bossy. Like this is what you need, this is what it's gonna do, XYZ. Should the personality match our target audience? Yes, so your target audience should be able to identify with that type of mood or personality. So, for instance, think about artists who say period. That like period. When you hear the word period, there are certain artists that come to mind, right? So they're selling, that's branding. They're selling a personality, they're selling a mood, they're selling a whole entire vibe and experience. Period. Like you already know in your mind what type of artist is saying that, what their music sounds like, what they period. Exactly. So, and that's branding that they have already identified their audience. They know their audience is going to understand what they mean when they say period, when they say real bad, when they say, you know what that means, right? So that is sort of like what you want, because they're actually programming and conditioning people to to sort of like receive and engage with them in that way, like bad, bossy. And so you're engaging right back with them. And yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, that's what, period. Like That is what branding is, and they've branded themselves really well. So you really want to consider just like what's the tone, the voice and the tone, how do you want to talk to your audience? And then value. So value is the benefit. How is this product going to change somebody's life? Why should we buy that product? You want to tell your story. You want to tell your story, and you also want to tell the product story. So, like maybe there's an ingredient story there that you want to highlight. Whatever the case is, you want to really establish why this product is going to change somebody's life, why they need to add it to their routine, or whatever the case may be. I need to reconsider my brand's voice. Why do you say that? What is your brand's voice right now? And Jordan Imari is saying same. Okay. Well, why? What's going on? So want to move on to messaging, which I actually have already talked about, but I also want to sort of give an example of value. So if you all ever go to Trader Joe's, you will see that Trader Joe's literally has a label and a description for every single thing they sell, which I absolutely love about them. So, and that's branding because they're literally, when it comes to messaging, they're telling you and they're communicating the value of every single product on their shelves. So, for instance, you want some apples. So, you go to the apple section, the produce section, and you specifically are looking at a label that says Honey Crisp apples, which is my favorite apple. So when you read about Honey Crisp apples, it says something like, and I'm guessing, I don't really remember what they have there, but it says sweet and tart, perfect for blending smoothies, salads, eating salads, and making your granny's homemade apple pie. That's branding. Like they have literally communicated the value of why you need to buy that particular apple over another one. If you are on your healthy era, your healthy tip, and you're like, I need to start eating healthy, I want to eat more salads. Okay, this particular apple Honey Crisp, it says that it's really good for smoothies. So like maybe I can add this to my smoothie. It's good for salads. Okay, cool. And you know what? My grandmother, she do be making bomb apple pie. Like that's the apples that she use. Oh, okay. Like I need to get those. And you're gonna buy it because you already convinced yourself that you see the value in buying those particular apples. It can knock out, your list of healthy items to buy at the grocery store. And maybe you have a sweet tooth and you want some dessert as well. You're going to use the apples for all of it. What are people saying? Every single product, unsolicited advice. Yes, but that is branding. That's messaging. That is value. That's communicating value and communicating the benefit of that product. These apples are going to be perfect for a salad, a smoothie, and some apple pie. And you know what else is really cool about messaging and copywriting? If you are able to stimulate someone's senses, that's really good copywriting. Like you've done a really good job. If you can take somebody back to a moment, like with the apple example, if you are able to have somebody remember their grandmother's homemade apple pie, and then their mouth waters and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, my granny's apple pie was hitting. These are the apples that she used. Okay, I'm about to go make me some apple pie. Better yet, I'm about to take these apples to her house so she can make the apple pie. Whatever the case, if you're able to do that with your copy, you have gold copy, like copy that's going to convert because people want to be stimulated. There are so many things that stimulates us on a day-to-day basis, but like if people are on your product page, they're on your website and they're about to add something to their cart and they're reading your product descriptions, which are seriously super important for SEO. You really want to have meaningful product descriptions for every product. But if you got a product description that is stimulating someone's senses, you're talking about what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like. If you're able to do that and talk about your product in that way to really engage someone's senses, yes, like sold. I want those apples. Absolutely. So that is one recommendation I have when it comes to messaging is that you really want to be able to engage someone's senses because it helps a lot and it helps with people buying your products. If they've never experienced your product before, but they read about it, they will buy it because they're sold about the benefits. Absolutely love Trader Joe's. Wow, so simple but perfect. It works. Absolutely, it does. Okay. So the last thing that I want to cover, because branding is what I have found to be just visuals, messaging, and experience. The last thing is experience, which is basically a vibe. What is your brand's a vibe? Which is a little different from tone and voice. This is really telling a story about your brand. So this is more of when people encounter or see your brand, what do you want them, how do you want them to feel? And you need to be consistent and cohesive across all of the channels. So you need to have the same vibe on your website, and your website should really establish your vibe because you own your website and that's where people go to shop for your products. It's the first place people typically will look at, right? So your vibe needs to be on your website. It needs to be on your social media. It needs to be on your email campaigns. If you create video content, the vibe needs to show up there as well. And you really just want to pick a vibe. So whether that's minimalist, my brand is a minimalist skincare brand, or it's a sort of editorial type of fragrance brand, or maybe it's a soft beauty brand, you're in your soft era and your brand represents that. Whatever the case is, you want to pick a vibe, an experience that you want others to acknowledge, and you want to stick with that vibe across every single channel you sell your products on. So, experience is really about how you're showing up and you being consistent across every single channel. And that's it. That is all that branding is. Based on my experience, again, I'm not a branding expert, but just from working with other writers, brand managers, and graphic designers, I've noticed that there is really only three things to branding, and those are it: visuals, messaging, and experience. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out. This live, because I'm doing YouTube and Instagram, will be on YouTube. I won't be saving this to Instagram, but you can find this video on YouTube and feel free to save it, like it, subscribe to our channel because I will be creating more content around some of the things that people are finding difficult when creating and building their website and even their brand. Um, so, yes, absolutely. No problem. I hope this live was very helpful to everybody that's watching it and that will watch it later. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments on YouTube Live. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye. Bye, YouTube.